Rhetoric. Good evening.
Testing. Breathe.
Good evening and good night and welcome to the It's Your Perspective Talk Show. It is Thursday, December 17th, 2015. My name is David, a.k.a. Kimba, a.k.a. Christian alongside
Bingy Soup.
Yeah, Soup. We back again?
Yes, sir. Live and direct.
Yeah, blazing up the trail, you know how it goes.
Yes,
I just want to say that this is the It's Your Perspective Talk Show every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. until. We do have a telephone number, 340-201-9005. You can also text us on that number as well. But most importantly, you have to go to our website, streaming live from the vi.com. Go to that website to see the show tonight. We have very special guest in the studio again, author Gary James. We'll be right with him here. We do have email, streaming live from the vi@yahoo.com. As we all know, we're in a high-tech, low-tech studio, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. No radio, TV, internet only. Got to get your Android, your iPhone, your tablet, your iPad, your Mac or your Windows PC. Just open up your browser, type in streaming live from the vi.com, and you will be able to see the show tonight and all our shows moving forward into the future. We have 2 Facebook pages. Definitely want to give a mad shout-out to CHS class of 1982. Big ups to that whole crew there. Vanessa, Julie, Charisse, and to all our past guests, thank you for being on the show. And I just want to say real quick, Gary, thank you. You've been on our show many times.
I love you guys.
Thank you for that, man.
Nothing you can do about it.
Yes, sir.
We're on Twitter as well. Link us up there at VI Perspective. Tweet with us. We're moving straight forward and up. The show's mission is just to inform, entertain, and empower everyone. And any kind words of wisdom, Soup?
Praises be to the Most High Jah Rastafari.
That's how it goes, you know? So as we move on here, our special guest in the studio here tonight is author Gary James. There he is right there. Welcome back one more time. If I could say real quick, Gary, that this is Season 2, Episode 5.
That's right.
Right there, man. So how you doing?
Good, my brother. Good. Feel especially inspired that Soup is in the house.
Yes. As we said, we're there.
Yeah. So I look forward to rolling with Soup this evening's conversation. In fact, it's probably best characterized as an addendum to our conversation last time. And as you may recall, last time we made the point that America has a two-party structure and not a two-party system. And so we want to develop that further and just touch on a couple of reminder points about that. But this is an addendum because I want to make some observations about the two-party structure and in the United States, in America, or as compared to the two-party structure here in the Virgin Islands. And it's an interesting comparison in my view because we essentially have the same two-party political system here and there. And just to recap, all of the states in America are structured with a party or two-party structure and infrastructure. And that structure and infrastructure is how the various neighborhoods are divided. And so within that structure, the Democrat and the Republican Party have district leaders. And district leaders of the party are determined every other year, biannually. But now what's interesting is the fact that the biannual election, as the general public understands it, occurs on the even year. Whether it's for the legislature or for the governor or for the president or for a locality mayor. And so the general public is oriented toward the biannual election. But in fact, in the United States, elections occur every year. But only political operatives, political candidates, or other members of the citizenry who are affiliated with the party structure are involved in the odd year or off year election. And the off year election determines the leadership within the party and the nature of the issues that the party deals with. But again, I mentioned this is on the odd biannual year, and the general public are not really hip to this activity. It is an activity that is primarily for the inner circle of the political clubs. And so when the district leaders are in place, those are the people who manage the various election sites. And so that is the party infrastructure. And unless you know how the infrastructure works and operates, you don't have an opportunity to compete for these coveted district leader positions, because the general public is not aware of how it is done. And the only way you learn how it's done is if you become affiliated with a party at the policy level. And most of us don't really participate at the policy level or the primary election level. Even in the biannual even year election, the general public does not participate to any large extent in the party primary. We primarily participate in the general election, which is a horse race or a popularity contest. And political power within the party and within the structure of politics does not reside at the general election level. It is the popular level, and the internal workings of how politics is done does not emerge at that level. And this is one of the reasons why we assert that throughout the 19th and 20th century, black folk in particular have had an emotional relationship with the various political parties, Democrat and Republican, because black folk and minorities primarily do not engage in, or to any large extent, do not engage at the primary election level, even when it comes to the general election. Less than 10% of black folk participate in the primary election, and even the general public, including white folk, there's a very small percentage of folk that participate at the primary election level. Therefore, those who know how to operate at that level, they could control the party. And so this is what we find with the current situation in American politics, particularly with respect to what is known these days as the Tea Party, the conservative wing of the Republican Party. It's just a few guys who know how the process works, and they don't even amount to 20% of the mainstream Republican Party, but they know how the process works, and their objective, it has been for the past 40 years, reactionary toward the accomplishments of civil rights. And so this is what we have in terms of the nature of American politics and how it is ruled by a small cadre of political operatives in the Republican and Democratic Party that move the party one way or the other, left or to the right. And so that's what we essentially have. And to recap, the civil rights era, the Democratic Party was run at that time by Dixiecrats, or Southern strain of conservative politics that ran the party, that was segregationists and racists or white supremacists and the like. And it was during the civil rights period that black folk and other minorities and youth were encouraged to change the nature of the Democratic Party by infiltrating it and taking control of the party, which was successfully achieved. But those social conservatives who were in the Democratic Party moved over to the Republican Party. And for the past 40 years, they have tried to rebrand the Republican Party, and to a large extent, they have rebranded it as conservative, but at the same time, the party lost a competitive advantage that they had with potential minority voters, black and Hispanic, as well as well-meaning white voters who didn't go for the subterfuge, which was that 800-pound gorilla in the room of racism. So the social conservative ideology is essentially a euphemism, a political euphemism for the kind of policies and sensibilities that perpetuate the Southern idea of what black folk are all about. So that's essentially the structural situation that we have in the United States in terms of the political parties. That's the structural situation. But the two people still talk about America being a two-party system, but there are any number of parties. In the Republican Party, you have a conservative party, you have a right to life party, you have a libertarian party. Now, these are individual parties, but they are essentially splinter parties of the Republican Party. And they're splinter parties of the Republican Party because only the Republican and Democratic Party have ballot status. And within the political dynamic, there's always a tug of war between the left, the right, and the middle. And it varies in terms of who controls it. So the same situation occurs within the Democratic party structure. You have the liberals, you have progressive, you have now the most recent Working Families Party. All of those parties are splinter parties of the Democratic Party. Even the Green Party is a splinter party of the Democratic Party. And so it's just different aspects that are emphasized by these various splinter groups. And so, however, only the Democratic and Republican Party have ballot status on a regular basis, but a third party, an additional party, can acquire ballot status by achieving a certain amount of votes in a gubernatorial election. So, for example, in the U.S., in New York, and in many black communities, there's always been talk about a black political party. And there have been efforts to establish a viable black political party. And the requisite is, I don't know, maybe 50, 100,000 votes in a gubernatorial election in order to get that status. But every 4 years, every gubernatorial election, you have to get that threshold of votes in order to maintain your status as a ballot status. So to generate ballot status from a third party is quite an exercise, and in order for it to be sustained, you have to have the kind of budget and organization that could sustain a third party. So that's essentially what we're talking about in terms of the American scenario. But in the Virgin Islands, it's a different situation altogether. And the Virgin Islands has the same political parties as in the States, but the VI does not have a similar electoral political structure or infrastructure. I learned this when I decided to vote in VI politics and forfeit my right to vote in the U.S. and vote in presidential elections. So I forfeited that right to vote because I felt that my vote would be more consequential here in the Virgin Islands for any number of reasons. Therefore, I registered to vote and voted in the 2012 and 2014 election with non-party status. And from what I've surveyed about party politics in the States, as well as my brief experience here, I felt it was the best route for my engagement to avoid the partisan scenario, because I need to learn some stuff as opposed to getting on one political side or the other. So I voted in 12 and 14, and in all candor, I remain confounded by the results of those two elections, as well as by what I've learned regarding the local political structure. And so I offer some observations as a newcomer to local politics, and I want to emphasize the word political process when I talk about VI politics. Perhaps I should make a disclaimer in order to minimize the extent to which my observations are misunderstood or misconstrued. got to be careful in the political realm. I have no personal political objectives or motives, and I'm beyond 70, which is too old to put my political boots on the ground. Also, I never met any of the elected officials, and I don't know any potential insurgent candidate excuse me, for office in 2016. Hence, I have no interest in the outcome of the next election, and I do plan to participate as an informed voter in the elective process next year or around the corner. But my comments going forward are based on my observations of the electoral process in the VI, which is informed only by my experience, etc., in USA electoral politics. And because of my ignorance of the local political players and history of VI politics, I can only observe and comment on the elective process as I experience it in the states and the VI, void of personalities and commitments to individuals. So, when I observe the structure and process of the electoral politics in the VI, it's based on my comparison with the states. My first observation, while exploring and participating in local elective process, was that there is no political party structure or infrastructure on the ground in the VI, which was absolutely a surprise to me. I was just not accustomed to that. The VI is comprised of 3 islands, hence 3 districts. Each district has a community/neighborhood called estates. However, there are no political structured linkages of the political parties or elective offices to estates, communities/neighborhoods in the respective 3 districts. So, whereas neighborhoods, communities in the states have a political party and an elective political structure on the ground that links voters to parties and elected officials, there are no comparable political structures on the ground in the VI. Therefore, the voters in the respective estates do not have a specific elected official that is responsible to that estate, nor are issues peculiar to each estate organized or packaged for the comprehension directed to elected officials. Therefore, VI voters cannot hold a particular elected official accountable to issues associated with the estate. No connection to the neighborhood or the voter. The elected official, therefore, has no particular responsibility to an estate and is only responsible to fulfill the functions associated with their committee assignments. At the end of the day, elections and re-elections are based on personality politics and convenient political associations and relationships. On the other hand, important issues associated with the respective estate, territory, and international relationships enjoy little priority and can be ignored with impunity. The absolute political disconnect between estates and local officials and the resultant electoral politics that it breeds, I found pretty troubling as an observer. And when I juxtapose the state of local electoral politics with my general observations, I can appreciate the genesis of many local problems, including why and how they continue. These are my cursory observations of VI electoral politics on the ground. My general observations of how the current VI legislature is structured is also a conundrum or riddle to me. The Revised Organic Act of 1954 set forth a unicameral structured Republican form of government by way of the legislature. But the legislature does not currently operate based on the Organic Act structure. The current legislature structure is a diversion from the Republican form of government as set forth in the Revised Organic Act, in my opinion. Therefore, in addition to the lack of an electoral structure on the ground, there is a structure deficit in terms of how the legislature and districts are organized and operate. These are some observations as a relatively new resident of the VI, and I appreciate that I'm still on the learning curve in terms of the history of the VI and how the community and elective politics is done. I offer my observations as a contribution to a general public discourse regarding electoral politics in the VI going forward. I will, however, make political assertions from a grassroots perspective, and I feel comfortable and competent to do such because grassroots is the political perspective that resides with me. I pointed out that I have no personal political interests going forward, but I must qualify that statement by disclosing that I have an organic connection to the Big Island. I have a responsibility to my forebearers who established and propagated my DNA here in the Western Hemisphere in 1825. Therefore, I have an abiding concern for the future and welfare of the VI. And with that in mind, I have a responsibility, in my view, to discharge and provide an example for my 6 pickney-dem, 3 boys and girls, and my 5 grand pickney-dem. And they have not yet been to the Virgin Islands, but I want to at least provide them with a path to their roots and perhaps an option to have a closer and fuller appreciation of Paradise, USA. To the extent that they choose to participate in the political, economic, and social future of the VI is entirely on them. But I have a responsibility to facilitate an option for them to engage in the VI process and future. So I offer my political point of view going forward from the grassroots level upward, understanding that citizen politics grows from the grassroots up and does not trickle down in electoral politics. I'm well aware of that. I want to make some politically strategic and tactical points that I hope won't be misunderstood, misinterpreted, misconstrued. But again, it's only with the electoral process, without partisan or political motive. But by way of full disclosure, just in the event that I need to be notified that I'm getting out of place or beside myself and need to be curtailed, I raise that possibility because I'm aware of my potential. My narrative can be or have unintended fallout. Should my coat need to be pulled, please contact my cousins them.
Your cousins them, right?
My cousins them. They have leverage with me. And I'm pretty close to them. I dug 2 cousins up a few months after relocating to the Big Island and researching my roots at the Whim Great House. So they're my interlocutors who keep me out of trouble. I keep open lines of communication with them in order to avoid problems or for them to assist me with damage control. Therefore, if I need to be put in check for what I may say or do, please feel free to contact my cousins them should that become necessary. The first cousin I dug up was, or is, Arthur Peterson Jr., also known as Doc from the West. And he's a pretty talkative and convivial cousin, so I'm sure he will be easy to find if he's not known. And my other interlocutor is Ronald Hewitt, and both of them can influence my activity. And so my family helps me with the learning curve. And from what I'm informed, my cousins them in the VI are extensive. For example, the matriarch of the Hewitt family out of Rattan is my grandfather's niece. She, the matriarch of the Hewitt family, she is the daughter of my grandfather's oldest brother, Patrick. And so I have these familial ties that help to modulate my activity. And I just want everyone to know that if you can't get to me, get to my cousins there if I need to be put in check. But see, my grandfather, incidentally, was the youngest of 5 siblings. And he was the only one who migrated to New York City with my father and aunt and grandmother, never to return. So I'm still in the process of exploring and researching. So I mentioned that to make the point, that I have an organic connection to the VI. And I'm not just trying to butt in stuff. There's an emotional connection and a spiritual connection that has grown within me during the past 6 years that I lived here in the VI. So I have this abiding interest and concern. My children have not come down as of yet, which gives me the opportunity to learn, much more and contribute to the future of the VI and establishing a legacy for my progeny, or continuing the legacy for my progeny. But as a matter of fact, this is why I say all of this. As a matter of fact, I've been known to say things that some view as controversial. And I have never been shy when it comes to resisting convention, because, well, this is the 21st century, and convention has pretty much shown in many instances that it's insufficient. So I'm not overly concerned with maintaining convention. But actually, I thought I had already done something that was controversial, to say the least, because the conversation that we had last time, I put on a Facebook page, the Voters Anonymous Facebook page, and I got a word back that the tape couldn't be viewed. I said, what? What did I do now? And so I checked with another friend or colleague of mine in Florida, And it was sure enough blocked by YouTube in Florida. Then I checked with New York, it was played in New York. So I called our intrepid producer, David Christian, and he said, "Da-da, I'll look into it, get back to you." And as it would be, he got back to me and said, "Try it again," and this time it worked. So we're playing in Florida, and it was not due to anything I said, due to some technical matter that our intrepid producer was able to resolve with the greatest of dispatch. And so we thank you for that, my brother.
Thank you. You're welcome.
But I hope that I don't step on any political toes, however, with what I'm about to say. But as I pointed out, my observations and comments about VI politics are directly related to the structure and infrastructure of the electoral political process, not personalities or elected officials. I don't comment on elected officials in particular because I don't know any, which is a good reason. And I don't know any local political history or local political parties. I comment on the elective process as I have observed it, as compared to my history and experience in New York. And when I compare the electoral political process in New York with my new unfolding experience with VI politics, I observe a substantial difference on the ground. Specifically, there is no political party structure or infrastructure on the ground managing and organizing the election process. Therefore, the respective political parties have no patronage linkages to voters in specific communities, states. Hence, elected officials are not politically connected to the issues peculiar to the various states. In addition, the voters in respective states do not enjoy an organic political connection to the various elected officials in the district. Therefore, the voters in the respective states have no potential to hold elected officials accountable to specific issues. As a consequence of the lack of a political party structure and infrastructure in the community, elected officials and political campaigns are all based on personality politics and conventional political relationships or conveniences. At the end of the day, the personalities that are elected have no structured political connection and linkages to voters in the communities, in the estates. The elected officials are thereby left to formulate political relationships of convenience among each other, and elected officials then increasingly become alienated from voters and the community as they pursue statecraft. A lack of a political party structure on the ground is only one aspect of the complex electoral political challenges in the VI going forward, in my opinion. The lack of a political structure on the ground is exacerbated by the hybrid structure of the VI legislature, among other challenges. The structural political shortcomings are well known, and efforts may be underway toward legislative reapportionment. However, the approach to a reapportionment remediation seems to be from the top down, which would be a Herculean feat if it was possible at all. Dynamic political change never occurs from the top down. Political leaders, elected and unelected, never make it difficult to perpetuate and sustain their political leadership. When change occurs from the top down, it is not change at all. It is a modulated status quo. And this is the kind of experience we have had, by and large, here and there, a modulated status quo. And we overly rely on those responsible to lead us, quote unquote, or those who represent us, our representatives, and we let them do what they choose to do. Political growth is similar to nature in that political growth occurs from the bottom up and does very well in fertile soil. Therefore, the grassroots is the ideal place to begin to plant seeds to achieve a bountiful harvest. It is not fruitful to rely on others, although they may have the responsibility to do that, and you have trusted them to do that, but they have not. And you, the people, are left in a lurch. Well, since I relocated to the Big Island, I put my political activism and political application activist boots in mothballs. My political boots are no longer on the ground, and I currently focus my activism primarily in philosophical and theological realms. But if I had my boots on the ground, I would organize politically in the context of establishing estate committees. That's what I would do in the 3 VI election districts. The people have to begin to move forward because currently the tail is wagging the dog. the people have to organize themselves within their communities, and based upon the extent to which they are organized, they can require politicians to do things. They could require change to occur. But we, the people, the citizens, have a responsibility associated with our citizenship. And that is to be an informed and active voter. But my boots are not on the ground, so I won't take that on personally. But as a resident of the VI, as I pointed out, I have an abiding responsibility to be an informed and active voter. Therefore, I count myself among those who will take an initiative and join or establish an estate committee in the community in which I'm registered. I'm registered in Grove, and I'm saying publicly that I am volunteering to be a member or to help establish a committee, an estate committee in Grove. And I would like to reach out to those Grovians who would like to communicate for the purpose of moving our estate forward. I would look forward to communicating with you. Also, I look forward to communicate with anyone who is interested in helping to organize their estate committee. And this has nothing to do with partisanship. This has to do with the process, the elective process, in terms of how we maximize the extent to which we can bring benefits to our respective community and move the peculiar issues associated with our estate forward. So I am volunteering to break the ice in Grove, and I look forward to communicating with other Grovians as well as communicating with others who are interested in moving their estate forward. Now, I'm realistic to point out that we have no immediate goals apart from organizing our state and communicating with others who want to do likewise. And based upon our ongoing communication, we can develop short-range, mid-range, and long-range plans. And so I am going to close this evening's conversation with, that announcement of my intent to be a volunteer in my community, my state, to move my state forward. And I look forward to interfacing or interacting with anyone who wants to do likewise or who would like to carry the discussion to another level. And I mean, not on, not streaming live, because we wouldn't plan strategically and tactically over public airways. There is an appropriate forum for that, just like this is an appropriate forum for broader communication. And so, thank you, my brother Soup, for showing up tonight and inspiring me to get into some details.
You're so welcome, my brother.
And I look forward to seeing you on the new year, because I know that's when I'm due back, right?
Definitely.
Your next show, we'll have some breaks in there, but Gary, your next show is going to be on the 21st.
Okay.
That's going to be episode 6. And then on February 4th, that's going to be the next one after.
Okay.
Because, you know, in January...
So January 21st and February 4th.
Is your next
There
show.
we go.
Yes. So, Gary, thank you. Were you kind of finishing there?
Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. We're close. There's a point that I wanted to raise, but that's okay. We could deal with it next time.
All right, man. So, our guest tonight is author Gary James. He's here in the Virgin Islands. I want to say thank you again. He's been around from the very beginning, helping us with the show and doing his thing, and while we're doing our thing. And we're all hoping that 2016 is going to be bigger and bigger for all of us.
Got to be.
His website is votersanonymous.com. Check it out. His next 2 shows, he just completed season 2, episode 5. His next show is January 21st, 2016 at 8 p.m. After that, it'll be February 4th, 2016 at 8 p.m. as well. So I want to say, Gary, thank you for coming out and spending yet some more time with us, educating, sharing what you know, your knowledge, your wisdom with everybody worldwide. And we truly, truly appreciate that for sure, you know?
Yeah, well, you guys are a great inspiration to me, man.
All right, thank you.
So
man.
I just want to let it flow.
Sure.
That's how it goes, man. So I just want to say that that's it for us tonight. It's about 9:07 p.m. on Thursday, December 17th. Soup, you got any final words for tonight, man?
Thank you again, Gary, for coming out. Enjoy the season. Rastafari lives, one perfect love.
Yeah, and like I say, man, our prayers and his blessings, when you put it all together, you get one perfect love, man. So we may be back tomorrow, we may not, and if we're not here tomorrow, we'll be back on the airways, as we like to say here, via the internet next week, Tuesday. All right, so peace. Have a good Friday, a good weekend, and we'll see you guys next week, man. Thanks for coming out. All right, bless.
Peace.